Okay, today I've got a Medeco original. Got my cam keys over here too. Um, Super fun lock. It's got 5 pins. They have to be lifted to shear and rotated. Been putting off picking this one for a long time. I can see why they're so popular now. I'm raking to reset the rotation. Get on with the pick. Okay, starting with medium heavy tension. For pins that are binding, I'm going counterclockwise, so the sidebar should bind first. S4, kind of pulsing tension while I spin the pin. 3 now is binding. Same thing, trying to spin it while I pulse tension. Now 1. Pulling on it. Okay, 1's moving. 5. Three. At this point, I'll start lifting some. 4. 3. 1. 5. 2's binding really hard now, but I don't think feels like if I lift it, I'm going to overset it. So I think it's a rotation on 2. Oh, a nudge on 1. It looks like it wasn't quite in the true gate rotationally. 5 is binding 2. Trying to rotate 2. It feels okay. 1's loose. Got 5. Really heavy tension here. See if there's anything that needs to get lifted. 1, 2, 3, 4. So what I'll do at this point, there's some binders. I can't tell if it's, I think it's rotation on like 2 and 5. I'll just go ahead and let everything drop and then come back with really heavy tension. Feel again for binders to see if there's anything I can rotate. Starting with 5. Actually feels okay right now. 4 though needs to get rotated. 4 might have been in a false gate. Okay. Come back in, heavy tension. 5, 4, goes 1. Check out 2 again. This is kind of how I do it, is I just kind of iterate through as I Get the rotation more and more correct. I get more and more to lift every time I try. And eventually it opens. Big click on 4 there. It's like this is almost, there it is. Cool. What a fun lock. Yeah, I really enjoy picking this because of just the way the sidebar and the top pins interact. You can really get feedback from both locking mechanisms simultaneously. Um, and also the fact that the rotation doesn't reset when you drop the top pins means you can kind of iterate like I was doing, where you get to a point that you're not really exactly sure where the next pin is. You can just reset the top pins and feel through. Especially picking counterclockwise, the first binders that you feel after you do that are probably the sidebar is probably rotation that you need to set. So then you can do some rotation and then do some lifting, and usually within 2 or 3 times of doing that, I get the open. Really, really fun. Let me go ahead and get this. So this is an original. I think, try and keep everything in frame here. Believe you can tell because of the face on an M3 or M4, it would say M3 or M4. For biaxial or bi-level, I believe they have a little symbol on there, like a half moon, double half moon logo. But for the original, it doesn't have anything like that. The original also has a distinct keyway, which is just wide open. It's awesome. Really easy to get a pick in there and do what you need to do. Go ahead and get this open. Okay. Don't really have to shim this, but I always do anyway. Makes it forgiving when I do something stupid. The sidebar is on the right side here at the 3 o'clock position. So generally I rotate clockwise. And I'll hold it like this so that the pins in the plug are facing up. So you can see the pins in there, in the sidebar, because of their height and well, really their rotation. The sidebar is able to compress in. If I pull out the key, sidebar is no longer able to compress in. Yeah, it's locked in this position, so I can't push it in, which prevents the plug from rotating in the housing. Take a closer look at that in a moment, but it at least shows the sidebar installed and the key pins in place. Okay, get these drivers out. The first driver. all all 5 of these drivers are standard. Let me go ahead and turn this light on. Not sure how much that's gonna help with something anyway. Get the spring to drop. There's also 2 anti-drill inserts here. See if you can see where that's. One for the top stack and one for the sidebar. Do pin 2, we'll see if that sidebar insert drops out. Doesn't affect picking, so not worried too much about showing it. Driver 2, another standard. Driver 3, another standard. Go from the back for the last 2. Driver 4. Okay, last driver. Just that last spring. Cool. There's the top pins, so that's one locking mechanism. Yeah, all standards, so pretty straightforward for picking that side of it. Let me get these drivers out. Well, before I do, I guess let me take a look at this sidebar. So it's got this distinct shape. So I think this is why, admittedly, I don't. There's that other anti-drill insert. I believe that shape of the sidebar is why it only binds, or it binds harder going counterclockwise than clockwise. So if you look at the plug, you can see the top of this has a different shape than the bottom. So I believe the result of that is the binding heavier in one direction. In any case, it does have that shape, but you can pick it in either direction. And so when the pins are all rotated, looks like they are now, this sidebar collapses and it's able to spin in the plug. If you change the rotation, let me just stick this key in a little bit, rake the pins that way. Okay, now the sidebar isn't falling in, and that prevents it from rotating. So you can see where the true gates are on the tops of these key pins. Get a close up here. Light is a little too much glare. There we go. Yeah. Let me turn this on low. There we go. Yeah, you should be able to see those gates, those true gates. They're mostly pointed towards the sidebar right now. I stick a pick in and push them all to the side. they'll start to not engage with the sidebar. Might be easier to just push these like this. There we go. Now this sidebar is, it really wants to engage, but um, you can also see at the tops of these holes on this side right here, there's a little notch. They aren't perfect circles. So there's little fins, little wings on the keypin itself, and that limits this rotation to, I believe it's plus or minus 20 degrees, so 40 total degrees of rotation. So they don't spin freely, they just have that range, and so the key cuts are somewhere between plus 20 or minus 20 degrees. Yep, so that's the most you have to rotate them, and if you're, what I'll do as I'm picking it is I'll kind of like push on one corner, and I'll do that for a while, and if it's not getting better, then I'll push on the other corner, go the other direction. And because the range of motion is fairly small, doesn't take that long to find where a gate is. Go ahead and pull the actual sidebar itself out. Okay. So the sidebar is sprung. There's the two springs in there. And it's got these little teeth. That's what mates with the gates on the key pins. This is the housing for the sidebar. The sidebar goes through these holes to interact with the key pins. Start dumping these key pins. One, two, three, 4, 5. Okay. So, yeah, that's the plug. There's no overmilling, undercuts, nothing like that. The top stock itself is very basic, and yeah, just standard drivers, no plug milling. It's really the sidebar that makes this interesting. So these are the chiseled key pins. So this one has some tweezers here. Show a few things with this key pin. Okay, focus setup. One day I'll get good at this. Okay. So first on the right, top right of this pin is that fin, and that's what limits the rotation in the plug. Right here, that's the true gate, that deep slot. It's not coming up well on camera right now, but there is this false gate right here. It's a much shallower groove. So that'll give you like a false set on the sidebar. So it'll click a little bit, it'll move a little more freely, but it will not fully engage the sidebar. I think what happens when I get the sidebar in a false gate is later, as I pick more pins, it'll actually bind on that false gate and it'll just feel like a binder. I've been told the false gates are usually pretty close, pretty adjacent to the true gates, which is true on this pin. They're right next to each other, so usually just easing off the tension and nudging it is enough to get it over. And then the tip of this is not a typical point that you would see on a key pin. It's chiseled, and that's how it actually sits in the key. So this key has a bunch of different, in addition to just the heights of the cuts, they have different angles here. And so you can see like this one will cause the key pin to sit this way. This one will rotate it slightly this way, and this one's all the way that way. So these different angles on the cuts changes the rotation on the key. Cool. Um, yeah, not much to show on the sidebar. Let me adjust it again. So again, there's two springs here. One just came out. Here's the other one. There's the holes for the springs. One tooth for each keypin, so 5 teeth. Here's a look at that cross section. So that asymmetric geometry, I think, is what accounts for the stronger binding in the counterclockwise direction. I think this might be a steel pin in there. It might be an anti-drill thing. In any case, that sits right in here. So those are the holes. So if you have a keypin, it'll sit right there, and when it's properly rotated, this gate will face the sidebar. You can kind of see it. That gate is there, and then the sidebar will collapse in. Rotation's not quite right. There it is, and then the sidebar falls in. So that's how the lock works. Let me do a close-up real quick, and that'll be it on this one. So still got a key pin in there. Cool. Um, One last thing I guess I'll quickly mention about tools. Really, I think with this lock in particular, the original keyway, there's just tons of space. So it's really world's your oyster. I used a medium Mogi pointy for feeling out rotation. Um, I also played with a gem. Honestly, I don't think it really matters. I think something kind of pointy is helpful to kind of like push those chisels around. But I've also rotated with this extra thick medium round, which I was using mainly for lifting. But I think if you had a flat, that would work fine. I know some people use like a half diamond too for rotation, but yeah, I don't think it matters that much. I think you can kind of spin it with whatever, so whatever works for you. Cool. Thanks for watching.